Welcome to Butterflies of Wisdom. And today you will be hearing not only me, but Heather. She is a podcast host, a published author, and she is the podcast host of the Formula for Fabulous Living, which I'm going to be on next Tuesday. She gets to have the treat of interviewing me next Tuesday, so I'm really excited about that. But today is her turn in the seat of interviewing. So without further ado, I'm going to let Heather take it away.
Well, thank you so much, Wynn, for having me on your show. And I absolutely recommend people to go to heathershowgift.com, and if they go there, they can listen to La Dolce Vita, which is the Formula for Fabulous Living. And I'm just really inspired. I've got a mission to empower millions of women, a mix of entrepreneurs, women that really want to own their power and own their greatness. And I do that by sharing with them that there is a formula for success. And a lot of times people, they minimize who they are and they put themselves, in the pit, and they put other people in the pedestal. And so my job is to really help them align their mind to their vision, like really get clear on what that is. Can we talk about that, how important that is? Because I really get
go ahead.
About
go
that.
ahead, because
yeah.
you and I have the same mission of empowering people. I'm empowering people with disabilities. You're empowering women who want to become solo entrepreneurs and follow their true calling.
Absolutely. And it's funny because growing up, when I was 4 years old, I had braces on my legs, these metal braces, because it was hard for me to walk. And when I was in fourth grade, I was diagnosed with dyslexia, which is a learning disorder. And I have to tell you, I know you know about challenges. I really had to learn how to overcome, the feeling of being stupid, because having dyslexia, what happens is that it really made it hard for me to comprehend, to read and write. And so where my other peers were excelling and they were taking college preparatory classes, I was left behind. And I remember being tutored, like being taken to a special room enclosed in glass where everyone could see me, and no one told me what was going on. And I'm telling you, at the time, I felt like the stupidest person on earth. I would beat myself up and compare myself to my sister, who had a photographic memory, got straight A's. And I didn't know that going through that experience was going to be the biggest gift and the biggest blessing in my life, because what it's shown me is when other people would give up, I would persist. I would pursue, things that I wanted to do in life, and because I failed miserably at everything. And I really want to build this story because I think it's really important for people that feel challenged. You feel that you're, disabled, but really it's there to show you that you can take what you're truly unique at doing, because everyone has it. They just have to uncover it and create transformation in the world. So here I am being disempowered mentally, even in my body. So I had a weight issue where, I just felt uncomfortable. Like no matter what I did, I couldn't lose weight. And so then I got into bodybuilding, and that changed my entire life, because again, it showed me a formula on how to get my body into the condition that I wanted, where other people were slacking. And so that was really, important to me. And back up, but prior to getting into bodybuilding, in high school, I developed a disorder called anorexia. And so I'm sure a lot of people know what that is. It's, basically eating nothing. And I was whittling myself away to nothing. And I realized, this is unhealthy. And how I actually overcame that is I did some research in high school on anorexia. I actually did a term paper on it, and I healed myself from that, which was kind of cool. Then I got into bodybuilding. And so what I realized is that those disorders really were there to help me to create order in my life, to really seek something more inspiring. And I started learning, and I studied over in Italy, and that's when it really came to fruition that I really didn't know a lot. Like I really wanted to stretch my mind and learn from some of the greatest teachers and philosophers and looking at, how can I create a mission that is inspiring? And I started questioning myself, who am I to do this? And once I started, really finding who I was, I realized that there was a formula, to live a fabulous life. And so those people that are listening here, it doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter what has happened to you. Once you take all those experiences and realize that they're there for a purpose, they're there to guide you. And so the Greeks called the most inspiring thing for someone, to pursue, they called it the telos, living from the telos, which meant the end in mind. And Napoleon Hill called it the chief aim. And so when we're not living according to our highest values, what's something that is most inspiring to you, here's what's going to happen. You will attract someone or something to get you back to balance. And so for my journey, being an entrepreneur and inspiring, empowering women all over the world, I've realized all those things were necessary. So I had to attract other lessons in the form of men in relationships to keep pushing me to find my own formula, because here I was getting into my groove, eating healthy, and because I had the bodybuilder background, and I was doing things in my business that were a little bit different, and I kept getting pushback from these men in relationships. Who are you to do that? Why are you spending so much money on your business? All of these things. And as that was happening to me, what happened is that my business was going backwards because I wasn't living from my telos. I was not living from my highest values. So one of the things that I teach my clients is, determining what their top 3 values are. So everyone lives by a set of priorities that are most important to them. And why it's important for people to realize that is that when you are true to yourself, when you're truly living inspired and you're not subordinating to what other people are saying, you can create a business that is extraordinary. You can create a difference in your life, no matter if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, but really pursue something that is exceptional. And so there are 13 questions that I go through it's a process called the Values Determination, and I'm certified in this methodology from the DeMartini Institute, and it's probably one of the most extraordinary tools that I've ever used to really help people to get focused. And so when people understand, wait a minute, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm not broken, and I can truly be myself, because a lot of times I think when it's hard for people to give themselves permission to be who they are and create a mission that's extraordinary. So if we look at people like Bill Gates, Oprah, Richard Branson, they had a vast vision and value on other people, and they knew, that they had to create a product or service out there that would also empower people. So I want to kind of tie that into, if you're listening now and you want to be an entrepreneur, you've got that big vision, you've got to have a value on other people that is vast, and you also have to have a value on yourself. And so those two things create really the synergy to living an inspired life, because, in my mind, it takes one person, one message, one mission to create a difference. And if you don't think that you're someone extraordinary, it's only because you're subordinating to the outside voices. And so I've been challenged all my life in people telling me that. And so finally, when I was able to activate the telos, activate my highest purpose and meaning, I designed my business in a way that was most inspiring, and I really want people to know that you can change. It really is about getting someone that can help you, that understands who you are, and to create a bigger vision and mission that is bigger than you. So it goes beyond your bills. It really is, global and astronomical. So if, when you leave this life, whatever happens to us, you want to ask yourself, what is the legacy that I want to live or leave? And what is that immortal imprint that I can leave on this planet? And so when you ask those questions, the power of your questions will determine your destiny. And Leonardo da Vinci, really was a great person to be curious about everything, asking questions. And so the quality of your questions really does determine your life. I believe Tony Robbins said that. And so I really want people, instead of getting yourself into a disempowered state. So this is what I used to do when I was very disempowered. I'd say, why does this always have to happen to me? Why am I so broke? Why don't things work for me? Why is everyone else, smarter than me? And so that kind of cycle of questioning, disempowering questions in my mind dug a deeper hole into my psyche until I started to own who I was. I started to own my own uniqueness, my, just being true to who I was, which is part silly, part serious. And, that's when things started to change. But it wasn't until that moment, until I realized, like, wait a minute, I don't have to compare myself to anyone else. No one is better than me. And I really want to put that message out there is when you're comparing yourself to someone else, it will put you down further, and you've got to see yourself as equal to anyone. Oprah, Richard Branson, any of the people that you most admire, because when you see yourself as equal and you see yourself having those same traits and qualities, that's when you can maximize, your telos, and you rise to the top. You're able to shift your thinking and see things in a new way. So what happens when you let go of minimizing yourself, your sphere of influence changes in your brain. So you actually take a quantum leap and you start seeing the formula for success. So that's why when I interview people, I like to know what their genius zone is and what their formula, what their philosophy of success is. And success does leave clues. And so when we really dig deeper into the mystery or the history, we can find those answers. The answers are always within, and so I love studying philosophers. I love studying polymaths like Da Vinci to uncover, who we really are. And I feel like today we're living in a time where people are so fearful and they just don't know where the future is going. And I'm here to tell you, if you're a leader, you create your own future. You create your own destiny. And the person that has the most influence in the world are the people that are creating it. So why not create something extraordinary? And I know I've said a lot, Wynn, so do you have anything to add? Because I know you've got a story as well.
I do. And I don't know how to tell you guys this. I was actually going to announce this on Heather's podcast, but I am very, 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 very close to getting myself finally into journalism school, aka fashion journalism, because I feel like that's my true calling. I mean, I tried college once before, and that didn't work so well. And I feel like fashion journalism is my true calling. So yes, as of today, which is April 21st, I'm now taking myself to the next level and really harnessing my power in journalism. Not to say that I haven't been doing it for the past 4 years, but as of today, I'm harnessing my power and getting the education in journalism.
I love that. I love that. It's funny because I have one of my highest values is fashion, and so I have to tell a quick story. When I applied for college, I tried to apply for one of the best fashion design schools in the country. I didn't get in because my grades sucked. I beat myself up. I told myself, gosh, Heather, you're so stupid. Little did I know that it was the biggest blessing in my life, because at that point I was on the 6-year plan. I kind of laughed. I didn't get my master's degree, but I got a PhD in life because I had to go on a journey to really discover myself through art. And so I was majoring in film and doing art, and I lived in Italy for a while. And it really opened up my eyes to new doors. Now, if I would have took the path of being a fashion designer, I would be talking to you today. So I really want people to connect the dots in their life. There's no mistake of what happens. Every point of what you're doing in your life is going to take you to your highest and most, important thing, your inspiring mission. of why you are here, and it's up for you to really awaken that, be true to yourself. And you know when you're being true to yourself, when you're so inspired doing what you do, when you can't wait to wake up and serve your clients and make a difference, whatever that is. And so my highest value has always been fashion. Now today, I use it in my brand. You know, I love fashion, I love clothes, but it just kind of went a different route. And also empowering women through fashion, because if you're an entrepreneur, you've got to look the part. You know, people do judge you on how you look, and you can find a style, you can find a formula that makes you fabulous, that really is your unique expression. So does that mean you have to spend a lot of money? Absolutely not. You know, but I feel that the stories, you know, people don't really connect to the stories. And so going back to, you know, what I was saying earlier about having an inspired mission, I was working with a client who hired me because she couldn't take the action. Now, if let's just say you want to do something, but you're like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. You have to ask yourself a question, why is that? Who are you comparing yourself to, or the voices in your head saying that you can't do it? So my client, I'm not going to share her name because it's kind of a personal story, but it's a powerful story. She was molested twice when she was a young girl. And so in my work, in what I do, I just don't help people to create a fabulous brand, but I really help people to balance their mind. So I was able to take that incident and show her how it did have meaning and purpose, that we could neutralize that event so that she was not traumatized by it, not being a victim, but being, you know, victorious in her pursuit of what she wanted to do, because she wasn't able to wasn't able to take the action. There was no inertia in, you know, being able to grow her business. And so once we got through that, in 8 weeks, she found her place to open up her daycare center. And let me backtrack, because before we did that, I had her create what I call her fabulous statement of inspiration. And everyone needs a statement that is fabulous and inspiring to where they keep working towards it. It's something that is going to help you, you know, fulfill your highest purpose over your lifetime. And it goes something like this. What do you want to do? What do you want to be, and what do you want to have? And so it'll be about 75 words. Mine's kind of long, but when we finished up with hers, you know, I said, you know, you've done this correctly when you have tears of inspiration for what you're doing. And, you know, she did. And so that was the catalyst for her in transforming her life and her business in just 8 weeks. And she said, Heather, I am seeing the world in a different way. So remember what I said earlier is that once you awaken, you know, your telos and you truly follow your calling and you don't subordinate to anyone else, you know, if they say, who are you to do that? This is what happens. You start changing your level of awareness and you start seeing the formula of how life works and expanding it to new ideas. And so she followed it. We created her plan, but she wouldn't be able to take the action because here she did. She hired another coach that wouldn't that just couldn't get her to take the action. So she was motivating that person, creating the marketing plan instead of showing her how to inspire her. You know, she could only get her so far. And so when you learn how to inspire someone, you're not forcing them through motivation. So motivation is just external, where inspire, if you look at the word inspire, that means to come from within. And so I'd rather inspire people than motivate them and say, come on, you have to do it. You know, so I really get excited when I see people that have a vast vision. And so her vision is opening 24-hour locations in her area and, you know, teaching kids to be geniuses, you know, and protecting them. And so it's really exciting when I see people that are doing things, you know, and that doesn't mean, you know, that you're going to have challenges along the way, because here's what happens. Once you reach one level of success, there's going to be another set of challenges. It's an ongoing, never-ending, you know, thing that you have to do. But the great thing is once you reach one point of the level of your mind, you jump to another sphere of awareness, you go through those challenges, then you go through another level of challenges. So just to give you an example, if you want to look at like some of the most powerful CEOs, They're always solving problems. They're always having issues. So why are they so brilliant? They're brilliant because they've taken on challenges. So you really want to be a leader and a person that will take on the inspiring challenges, because if you don't take on challenges that inspire you, you're going to attract someone or something to get you back to your telos, to get you back to your balance. And so that's why, a lot of clients that I work with will come to me to work on their business, but they'll also have other issues like relationship issues. So I work with people in a very holistic way to show them how to see things differently. And I can be talking about this all day long. So I hope this helps your listeners that are tuning in to realize that, no matter what you've done, I don't care if you failed 50 million times at something. I am the queen of failure. And what I love is studying other successful people. If you Google J.K. Rowling's Harvard commencement address, it's so powerful. And I have to share this quote because when I watched this, I was like bawling my eyes out, because here was a woman that was totally disempowered. She was basically in poverty. I think she had one or two children. I'm not sure, but, she now she's the first billionaire female author, and it's so inspiring. So her speech about failure was so extraordinary, and one of the things that she said is, failure taught me something about myself that I could not have learned any other way. And so when you think about that, we are so conditioned as society to not fail, and I'm here to tell you, failure is your friend. Failure is the fastest path for you to get momentum, for you to really do extraordinary things. Now, there's another woman, Sarah Blakely. Your listeners may or may not know of her, but she invented an undergarment called Spanx, and she was one of the youngest billionaire females. I don't think her company went public, but a cool story about her lessons in failure is that her father would sit her down at the table, her and her brother, every single evening and ask a simple question: where did you fail today? And if they didn't come up with, where they failed, he would actually be disappointed. And you might think, well, that's crazy. But the reason why he did it is he wanted to teach his children, in letting them know that there's a formula for success, and failure is part of it. There's no such thing as failure. It's just a result. And if you fail, that means you quit. You've given up. And so an entrepreneur and someone that has an inspiring mission will find a way. They will find a way to solve a problem, So a lot of times we give up so easily. And so I know what it feels like to fail, lose everything, then pick myself back up and, do something that's extraordinary. And so I just really want to impart that message on everyone. If you're beating yourself up, why am I this and why am I that? Keep pursuing it. I had a guest on my show. I didn't release it yet, but his name is Chris Hendricks, and he has a disability, but he uses that as fuel for his inspired mission, and his brand is called, I think it's called Perfectly Afflicted, where he does keynote speeches to high school students, and teaching people teaching kids how to be empowered, with his message, because he was bullied as a kid. And his music is absolutely amazing. So if you Google Chris Hendricks, the song Noise, that's another inspirational song or thing that really like it spoke to me as well. And so we have to surround ourselves with people that have had challenges, that have learned to overcome the challenges, and that there is a formula. Once you follow the formula, your formula is going to be completely different and unique to someone else. And so you can look at those events of someone's life and look at yourself and wait a minute, mine is similar, or wait, they have gone through that challenge. They've lost everything, or they had a disability. And so again, when you see that other people have done it, it gives you the encouragement to do the same. Just like Roger Bannister was the first person in recorded history to run the 4-minute mile. No one could do it. People were saying it was physically impossible to do it, and he just said, no, wait, there's a way to do it. Now, the way that he was able to do it, was in his mind. He changed the program in his mind to be able to do it. Now, here's the interesting thing. After he broke that record, it was, I think, 26 days later that other people did it. Why? Because people saw the formula. People saw a way to make that happen. So I really think it's interesting on how our world is evolving. Technology is, advancing like every single day. Seems like there's something else out there. And it's not to get distracted or feeling fearful, but asking yourself the question, how can I take my mission out there? How can I make a difference? Because now, being connected, with technology, you can get your message and your mission out there quicker. Whatever that is, it means to you. And you know what it is because it's most inspiring to you. So does that make sense, Wynn?
Yes, that makes sense. And I didn't want to interrupt you as you said that so eloquently, but I agree with the help of technology, you get your message out there like there's no tomorrow. Now, Heather, what is your favorite business book that you go back to time and time again?
Gosh, there are so many books that I absolutely love, but I can remember reading years ago. Actually, I have to give you a couple like that were really kind of the beginning of my journey to want to learn more. Unlimited Power by Tony Robbins. That book was very powerful because it showed me that I was responsible for my life. I was responsible of how I thought, and it was a catalyst for me to learn more and read classics like Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. I know a lot of people have read that. That book is really, really powerful. And in that, I love this line, and it goes something like this. Sometimes, your fortune is disguised in misfortune, something like that. I'm kind of paraphrasing it. So meaning when you're going through something, you're going through a challenge right now, you need to balance your mind and see both sides of it, both the positive and negative, because if you have a lopsided perception and going, oh, this is awful, realize in the universe you can't have an up without a down. So the challenge is there to bring you back to your telos for something else more meaningful to happen. And a lot of times people take the so-called misfortune, they label it as bad, and then they beat themselves up and never awaken the greatness inside of them. And so you can learn a lot from reading books like Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Read as much as you can and find the formula. Find the formula that people are being successful. People are able to endure the pain and the pleasure of something worthy, because if you go into this, anything you want to accomplish in life, if you go into it thinking, okay, I want this to be easy, you're going to give up if it's too painful. So that's why you have to embrace the challenge. You have to be inspired by it. And a person that's a leader will be able to embrace both the pain and pleasure of the pursuit of something worthy. So, the clients that I work with that are really successful, they know this and they embrace both sides. And because of that, they're able to really break through the illusion of failure, and they're able to break through some of the challenges that they couldn't break through before. So I just really want to encourage people to read, to read as much as you can, to learn, and also reflect. You just don't want to read, but you want to reflect. So when I'm reading a book, I like reading hardback books and Kindle books. I take a lot of notes, and I like to synthesize the ideas and put them into a wisdom file so that I can use that later on, whether I'm writing a book myself and referencing that, or just from my own knowledge or my clients. And so you can learn. You could actually accelerate the way that you learn by doing that.
Well, I definitely agree. Whether it be Audible, or whether it be a Kindle book, or whether it be a book. And I know you people don't like books anymore, but for the people that do like physical books, I put my books in physical copies so you guys can have physical copies. I also put my books on audio tape as well, so those can be found. My books can be found in Audible, and I don't know about Heather's book, if Heather's book could be found in Audible format.
Oh, I do have my latest book, Women on Fire Entrepreneur. It's available in Kindle and paperback, and I'm actually working on my fourth book, which the working title is La Dolce Vita, The Formula for Fabulous Living. So taking all the 7 areas of life and showing you how to find your formula, because I really want to get my message out there to women to own their power and realize that, you do count, no matter if you want to be the best mother or whatever you want to do. Don't discount yourself and why you're here. And I do have to say this, years ago when I was very quote unquote depressed, and I like to say quote unquote depressed because I don't believe in being depressed, and let me explain why. When you are depressed, you're simply comparing yourself and injecting the values of other people and trying to live up to a fantasy that you're really not being congruent with your highest values. And so years ago, when I felt like I'm not successful enough, I'm beating myself up because I really wasn't living by my telos. I was taking on what other people would say, how I should be, and that is a recipe for disaster. And so I can remember at one point wanting to take my own life, looking in the mirror going, who is this person? And so I really had to actually, I'm glad that I had that experience because I talk to people a lot that feel that way, so I know how it feels to kind of beat yourself up to where you don't even want to live. And I'm so glad and thankful that I really worked on myself and realized that, again, we are here to do something amazing. Your journey and what you're doing is unique to you. You don't have to compare yourself to anyone else. See yourself as equal, and you just focus on yourself. And Oprah said it best, when she was building her business and building her program, the Oprah program, she said, don't focus on the other guy, meaning don't focus on what other people are doing on Facebook and, oh my gosh, they're making so much money. Because I will tell you a little fact. A lot of people lie to make themselves look good.
Yes, they do.
There's good people on there, but I know firsthand. I'm not going to get into pointing names, but I know firsthand on some of those numbers that are not true. And so I used to beat myself up, like looking at that. And when I started focusing on myself and saying, what can I really help? Why am I here? How can I really help people? And really filter out all of that noise, then that's when I started to really awaken my unique gift. So don't get caught up in the noise. And, the people that are saying, oh, this and that, like if you're looking at Facebook ads, you can see that all the time, you start seeing this redundancy. And so when you are being true to yourself, you don't need to do that. You can be who you are. And I will tell you, I fell victim to that thinking, oh, I have to be exactly like that. And so that's when I started to create my brand, La Dolce Vita. That really came out of who am I? What am I inspired to do? I want to create a fun, fabulous, inspiring brand that is also very serious. I'm a little bit goofy and silly. You'll see that on my show in the intro if you watch the video because I'm dancing. I've got my dog, but that's who I am. And if someone doesn't like it, that's fine because you're always going to have people, no matter. And this is the danger as you grow in your business or as you get more known. You're going to have people that put you down because I have it, I get it. But know that it's necessary to keep you balanced, that not everyone's going to like you. So if you look at Oprah, she's got a lot of slack in the media. She opened that school in South Africa where I believe the girls were molested. And so, she is not a perfect person. And that's why, we can't compare ourselves to other people. These people are human beings. They have issues to deal with. But knowing as you're growing that you are going to get people that are going to try to push you down, it's actually necessary for our evolution and transformation in society. As crazy as things are in a perception, most people are so polarized on what's going on in the world. Oh, that's bad. That's horrible. But all of this is necessary if you really look at it on a deeper philosophical viewpoint, that we need all of these things, these different personalities, in order for transformation to take place, in order for us to rise, to go to the next level of our evolution. And so I've been studying this. I know it's happening. We can see it. We can trace it through the history of time. And so not to label it good or bad, but just know that it's necessary for transformation and to balance your mind when you're, quote, unquote, witnessing an event that is so-called traumatic. And so when I take people through a process to help them to neutralize that, there's nothing but love, so it's a synthesis of polar opposites, when you look at love, and we can really truly tap into our magnificence once we get that, once we really go there. And I work with people, like I said, in their business, but they also have deaths. They have, maybe they're raped, molested. I'm working with one client right now who her husband had an affair. I mean, these are real life events. And, in order for these clients to go to the next level of their business, they have to balance their mind with these events. And so there's a whole psychology and science and philosophy behind that. But I want people to know, that are listening, that you can't give up on yourself, that you have to keep going. And one of the best things that you can do to really accelerate your growth is to hire a mentor or coach, like really invest in your inspired idea, because if you don't invest in yourself, no one else will.
I definitely agree. And you guys, Heather's message is so important. That's why I'm not saying anything. And that's why I'm not asking her the typical questions here. Heather, where can people find you, and where can people find your podcast?
Yeah, so they can find my podcast. I actually broadcast it on 2 platforms. I have a video platform and on iTunes. So if they go to heathershowgift.com, that's pretty easy, and you'll get a toolkit when you go there. So get a coach's consultant's toolkit, how to be successful online. Got some of the best tools in my opinion. And the show is just really fun, especially if you watch it on video, because there is it's kind of goofy, but you'll see it's me. Like it's funny, it's inspiring, and I just want to get my message out there. So if you go to heathershowgift.com, and you can also visit my main site, heatherpicken.com, and I do have my 3-day Sweet Life Challenge, which is my La Dolce Vita, which means sweet life, and it's a 3-part training on how to discover your mission, creating that statement, that fabulous statement of inspiration, and also, creating your marketing, what the best way is for you to get yourself out there. So heatherpicken.com, or then go to heathershowgift.com.
And before I let Heather go, I'm actually going to let her ask me 2 to 3 questions that she wants to ask me about anything. And as I said, next week, I'm actually going to be on her podcast.
Yeah. No, I'm super excited. Yeah. So my question to you, so what is your inspired mission now that you know that this is what I want to pursue? What was the point that you arrived at that? Because, there's always kind of like a breadcrumb trail that leads us.
My inspired mission to become a journalist and actually get a degree in it was when I wrote a book at age 23. I wrote my autobiography at age 23, I Come a Win, which could be found on Amazon. And when I wrote that book, I was still in education, and I still am in education, and I was in a very okay place in my life, which I admit publicly, and I Come a Win what the okay place was. But I kept squishing my mission in life. I kept squishing my mission in life. And so at the same time, I'm like, well, why not do it now? You started a podcast. Why not learn how to control this podcast with a journalism degree? I mean, I started this podcast with an education degree. And I don't know whether it's a life crisis at 30, me wanting to go back to school to study journalism, but I feel like being a journalist and empowering people with disabilities is my life's mission.
That's awesome. And and you're proof that if you follow what's most important to you, you'll get there. You know, it's not a race. I think it's just a matter of just being focused and giving yourself permission, I think would be the biggest thing. And I would say another question is, how do you overcome challenges? Like other people that are listening to your show that, you know, that are disabled, that might be beating themselves up, what words of wisdom would you share with them to encourage them to follow something that's inspiring and not to give up on themselves?
Just do it. I'm going to steal the Nike slogan here. Just do it. If you have a passion for it, you figure out a way how to do it.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. A lot of times, you know, people can just limit themselves, but if you study successful people, a lot of people have, you know, they have disabilities and challenges and they're doing it. You know, I've met some extraordinary people that don't let them, you know, they don't let that get in their way. They're like, no, wait a minute, I'm going to use this to my advantage, and I'm just going to do it. So I think that's great. Oh, and then I'll have to ask you, and I know you're coming on my show, what's one of your most inspiring books that has helped you in your journey?
Oh, one of the most inspiring books that has helped me in my journey. It's interesting because during my education degree, it's interesting that I got to meet this author. I had the privilege of meeting this author, Greg Montenson. I don't know if you guys read the book, 3 Cups of Tea, Building Schools in Afghanistan, and I know that Greg Montenson got in a little hot water for that one, but the way he taught the kids and the way he built the schools was very inspiring to me. So I would say 3 Cups of Tea or Stones into Schools, which is his second book. And those two also could be found on Amazon and Audible and all that good stuff.
Awesome.
Yes, and I can't wait to come on your podcast next week, Heather. And make sure you guys tune in when Heather releases it. I'll make a big deal out of it because I can't wait to have Heather hear a lot more of my story than she heard today because it was her time to shine. And so that's why we did today how we did today. But this podcast has been sponsored by Grace by Grit. Grace by Grit is a clothing line out of San Diego, California, and invented by 2 former triathletes. If you want to go back and hear Katie Newton's story and Alex's story and the story of Grace by Grit, it's on my feed. So please go back and listen to it. And they have generously given you guys a 20% off discount code on any of their pieces of apparel. And this podcast is also sponsored by Go Kidders, Kitzer, Kidders, a desktop app. And you can post a tweet. They put the most trending hashtag with it. And I appreciate you guys listening to Heather and I speak. And as I said, I'm going to be on Heather's podcast next Tuesday, so make sure you guys tune into that, and we'll see what Heather comes up with for me on next Tuesday. But I can't wait, and I hope you guys enjoyed another fabulous episode. Thanks, you guys.